Tibetan Buddhism is a religion with a rich culture that emerged from a wide range of practices, which include the complete scope of the Buddhist teachings from the Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana levels. Different groups belonging to Tibetan Buddhism include the Nyingmapa, founded by Padmasambhapa, Kagyupa, founded by Tilopa, Shakyapa, founded by Gonsok Yopo and his son Gunga Ningpo, and Gelugpa, founded by Tsongkhapa Lobsang Drapa. The teachings of Tibetan Buddhism puts a focus on the awareness of death and the ephemeral nature of life, leading to diligence in meditation and spiritual practice. Mandalas, prayer flags, and tanka paintings are visual imagery used as reminders for practitioners on the path. One of the renowned masters of this religion is Milarepa. Magician, yogi, poet, hermit, many names have been attributed to this most famous figure of Tibet's history. This Himalayan saint lived from 1052 to 1135, and his story of personal redemption has continued to be an inspiration to many generations. Through songs called dohas, Milarepa imparted divine teachings on spiritual devotion and wisdom. Today we present to you an excerpt, The Conversion of a Dying Buddhist, from the holy text of Tibetan Buddhism with the compilation titled The 100,000 Songs of Milarepa. The 100,000 Songs of Milarepa, The Conversion of a Dying Buddhist. Obeisance to all gurus. Early one morning on the 8th day of a lunar month, when Jetsun Milarepa was meditating at Draja Dorje-son and observing silence, a number of dakinis or tantric deities, dressed as earthly ladies, came to him and prophesied.
O silent yogi with great power of will, who practices austerity, the soul lion in the midst of all the snow, who sees alone samsara or cycle of reincarnation in nirvana or highest paradise, listen to us, the 4 Dakini sisters, who come to prophesy.
After conveying this message to the Jetsun, the Dakinis or tantric deities vanished. Accordingly, the next day Milarepa journeyed eastward. On the way, he met a shepherd. When the shepherd saw him walking above the ground, his feet never touching the earth, an unshakable faith toward Milarepa arose within him. He offered the Jetsun his own food and asked for the teachings of Dharma. Whereupon Milarepa preached on the law of karma, or retribution, on the errors of samsara, or cycle of reincarnation, on the difficulties of obtaining favorable human birth, body, and environment, and lastly, on the unpredictableness and inevitability of death. Convinced by these teachings, the shepherd said,
Dear Lama, your preaching has been a reminder of the great sufferings of samsara or cycle of reincarnation. On thinking it over, I find I have no more desire for any gain or loss, happiness or misery in this life. The sufferings which you have mentioned distress me so much that I feel I cannot bear them any longer. Please give me some instruction that can help me. Very well, said Milarepa, I shall teach you. The shepherd then confided to him, I and I alone know of a secret cave called Mamuson. Please let us go there.
When they arrived at the cave, the shepherd offered food and gave service to the Jetson, and then asked for the teachings that would release him from samsaric suffering. Milarepa then taught him how to meditate. Not long after, the shepherd confided, "When I am concentrating, I feel very peaceful and there is no suffering whatsoever. But when my mind begins to wander, pictures of the miseries in samsara, or cycle of reincarnation, all appear before me. I can hardly bear the distressing experience of seeing them. With your great compassion, please bring me to the state of eternal happiness." Milarepa replied,
If you want to be always happy, you must ever avoid sinful deeds and follow my example by practicing all the virtues. The shepherd answered, I am willing to do so for the sake of attaining the longed for perpetual happiness. I would like to become your servant. Please take me with you.
Milarepa recognized that this shepherd was a destined disciple, so he took him in and granted him the initiation and pith instructions. Later on, the shepherd was known as Tsiwo Repa, the most outstanding student among those disciples with realization.
On the morning of the day that the Jetson met Tsiwo Repa, the Dakinis or tantric deities said to him, There is a place called Lapu, you should go there. And so Milarepa went to Lapu, where lived a very rich old man, a pious follower of Bon, who had many sons. Recently he had contracted a very serious disease. On the day of Milarepa's visit, one of this man's sons had just returned home from consulting a diviner, who had said that the remedy was to kill 100 yaks, 100 goats, and 100 sheep, and with the meat to hold a great festival and sacrifice for the Bon monks. Following this instruction, the rich man's sons had made all the arrangements for the feast and were just about to slaughter the animals when the Jetson arrived.
Milarepa, on first reaching Lupa, had met a girl on her way to fetch water and had asked alms from her. She informed him of the great Bon festival to be held for the sick rich man, saying that she was sure he would find alms if he went there. As Milarepa approached the rich man's house, he saw all kinds of people entering it. It seemed that anyone could walk in, even the dogs. Nevertheless, the host said, "Dear Lama, our father is very sick. Please leave us." Milarepa replied, "All I want is something to eat. Please give me food." The sons then prepared a little food for him and were about to send him away, when the sick man's relatives and doctors began to gather round to observe his illness. Milarepa went to them, asking for charity.
When the rich man beheld Milarepa's face, a great faith arose in him, and somehow a change took place in his mind. He clutched Milarepa's robe and besought him, saying, "Dear Lama, I am a living man for only today or tomorrow. Look on me with your compassion." Thus he implored, while tears streamed down his face. Milarepa said, "It is a good omen that you have such faith in me. If I cure your illness, will you renounce the world and practice Dharma or true teaching?" The rich man replied, "If I'm relieved of this illness, I shall do whatever you say. Not only will I practice Dharma or true teaching, but I will also cause my sons to become Buddhists." The Jetson thought to himself, "The Dakinis or tantric deities prophesied that I should convert certain evil and pleasure-loving men and thus accomplish benevolent deeds and give blessings to all. This must be the opportunity they meant, so I shall act accordingly."
Whereupon he said to the rich man, "You may slaughter all the yaks and goats you wish, but that will not cure your illness. In fact, it will only make your situation worse. Rather, you should set all those cattle free. On the other hand, I know a method that will definitely cure you. But first, what religion do you profess?" The sick man answered, "Well, I do not disbelieve Buddhism. I have always loved and placed my faith in Bon." "In that case," said Milarepa, "you should now dismiss all these Bon monks and doctors. I will perform a Bon ceremony for you, which will certainly help your recovery." To which the eldest son of the rich man added, I propose that both the Bon monks and this Lama perform their ceremonies together. Cannot this be done?
Your suggestion is apt, the Jetson replied, but there are already too many doctors and too many hocus-pocus here. All this does not help. It would be better to dismiss them all. The sick man supported him, adding, "We should do what the Lama says." Accordingly, both the ritualists and the physicians were dismissed. Learning of this, the people began to murmur, "Are not the ceremony makers and doctors capable? Surely this foreign yogi can neither diagnose nor help. The sick man will probably die soon." After voicing such thoughts, they became all the more worried and distressed.
The sick man asked Milarepa, "What animal then should we slaughter for an offering?" The Jetsun said, "In the performance of my ceremony, no sacrifice is necessary. I have a Bon prayer of my own. Listen attentively." Thereupon, Milarepa, chanting a Bon melody after the Bon manner, sang for the sick man. The parable of the 22 family members.
So yon 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 ngo. In the beginning of time arose a manifestation. At that moment, as the first of all happenings, the outer objects appeared as something with attributes. The assembling of elements, the aggregations, formed the great city, the three realms of samsara or cycle of reincarnation. The inner mind which discerns was comprehended as one with qualities. In the illuminating void awareness, thereby sprang up a myriad ideas and perceptions. This is the source of all karma or retribution, and klesas or sources of suffering.
All dwellings in this distressed world are illusory, for they are built upon forms of delusion. Because of clinging to the God and Father image, one fashions his active mind as the ego. Because of clinging to the Mother and Goddess image, one's mind pursues a myriad things.
When the Mother and Father united, then were born the 12 Nidana sons, or the general 12 successive stages that characterize samsaric becomings, and the 8 consciousness daughters. These brothers and sisters with their parents totaled 22.
From the arising of this family came the 480,000 klesas, or sources of sufferings, and the 360 distractions. Thus arose the 80,000 evils and hindrances, and the 404 inner families.
This is the first chapter of my song, the chapter of the members of the family. All the 22 members are beset with illness. They are wrapped in the sickness of a blinded mind, and they suffer from a myriad afflictions.
Fever inflames their upper parts. The fire of anger ever burns within them, while like yaks distraught they deeply groan. Chills plague their lower parts, and churning pools of lust drive them to lechery.
Chakran blindness afflicts their middle parts. The dropsy of ego clinging swells and distends them. Troubled are they by subprana sickness, and choked by swollen pride. Diseased in the heart, they denounce others while they praise themselves. They make their bed among the 5 poisonous desires.
Surrendering their minds to the nonsense of this and that, they lose all appetite for being virtuous. For the waters of sin they thirst, and vomit virtue's medicine.
To the 10 directions they spit the saliva of worthless talk. They take the 8 worldly claims for clothing. Relatives of the 10 evils surround their beds. Minds clouded, they wander in the realms of distraction, longing for food and wealth. Dark and hopeless are these diseases.
This is the second chapter of my song, the chapter describing sicknesses. For diseases such as these, what is the cure? Bon will help, and divination too. Thus I, the yogi, will divine for you.
A messenger, the transiency of all lives, was sent to ask a divination. An expert diviner was then called, and a cushion of faith unshakable provided. The beverage of trust was mixed, and a barley heap for augury arranged in veneration of the Dharma or true teaching. The question, the inquiry into the profound teaching of Dharma or true teaching, was presented to the soothsayer.
The augur, a proficient guru, charts a horoscope of the 4 elements. He counts the rounds of years, the 12 nidanas, and also numbers the 8 trigrams or consciousness. The diagrams of the 9 vehicles are drawn. A prediction of good or evil is thus made. Thank you, kind-hearted viewers, for your presence today for Between Master and Disciples. Join us again next Thursday for part 2 of The Conversion of a Dying Bonist. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television for Animal World, Our Co-Inhabitants, up next, right after noteworthy news. May heaven bless your life with much joy and beauty.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/BMD.